Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. JJ here. This video is about fluency and how to get fluent in your target language. And of course, there are tons of different ideas of what fluency means, but basically what I mean is to be as proficient as possible in your target language in as many contexts as possible. I recently found a new way to study in my target language, which is Mandarin Chinese. I'm already fairly fluent, but living back in the US, it's really easy to regress if you're not studying every day. But anyway, I found a new way to study language, and it's honestly blowing my mind, you guys. I have to share this information. I would not be a good language nerd friend if I did not share this information. And FYI, this video is for beginners as well as for more advanced learners. So regardless of your level, this is going to be useful to you. If you've seen some of my other videos on how I learn Mandarin, I'll link the main one above. You guys will see that I learned in a very traditional fashion. I studied the way they typically have you learn foreign languages in school. So I'd get my textbook, I'd sit down and focus all my attention on some vocabulary list in front of me, and I memorized it. So I just spent hours upon hours of memorizing lists from books. And you know, it's good because creating a large vocabulary arsenal for yourself is essential in becoming proficient in any language. However, recently, for whatever reason, I've found myself struggling to memorize in the way I used to. I feel like I'm just more easily bored. So I started doing something else. I'm now focusing the majority of my attention on real life language input. What does that mean, you may ask? Basically, I'm watching a lot of TV. I came across this incredible video by YouTuber Matt vs. Japan called Learning Japanese Through Anime. And of course, yeah, obviously our target languages are different, but hey, you know, I got some weeby tendencies. I like Attack on Titan just as much as the next waifu. So I was curious what he had to say. Basically, he emphasized the idea that language input via listening is absolutely crucial in terms of true language proficiency. So, you know, anime along with other media sources like podcasts, dramas, reality TV shows, etc. Although the language style may vary, the level of formality may vary, the word choice may vary depending on the type of media. But the fundamentals of any language are going to remain the same. Sentence structure will always be the same. The word for apple is always going to be apple. So as of last month, I really tried doing this. I really tried upping my input, just consuming more Chinese television than I ever have before. And let me tell you, I feel like I've really improved significantly, both in terms of listening and speaking. For example, a new word that I learned watching a cooking tutorial somehow randomly popped up in a news segment I was watching, and my brain, the pattern recognizing machine that it is, immediately picked up on it and started putting two and two together. My mom, as some of you may already know, is also learning Chinese, so she decided to do this too. She decided to start watching more Chinese content. Of course, the content we consume is very, very different. My level is much higher, so for beginners or low-level learners, just to get a hold on basic vocabulary words and also to become more familiar with what the language sounds like spoken, I suggest little baby shows. My mom's personal favorite is Peppa Pig, and she now watches it on a daily basis. Fun fact for all you Chinese beginners, a lot of the Chinese Peppa Pig videos on YouTube do include Chinese closed captions, so you can turn that on and practice your reading as well. As a matter of fact, I would suggest that. You know, surprisingly, I never really thought about this before. I really started upping my input significantly last month, but now I finally understand why toddlers are so enraptured when they're watching something like, you know, Blue's Clues or listening to Baby Shark. It's because their little brains are working so hard to recognize language patterns and create meaning out of them. Adult brains learning a new language are no different. We learn exactly the same way babies and toddlers do. And don't let your ego get in the way. My mom felt a little embarrassed at first that she was stuck watching Peppa Pig while I was watching dramas. You're not dumb or slow because you're an adult watching programming for babies. You're just a human with little exposure to this particular language. just the way babies have little exposure to all language, right? So for all you beginners or lower level learners, I suggest sitting in front of your computer and absorbing as much baby television as possible. Again, as I mentioned with the Peppa Pig closed captioning, if there are subtitles in your target language available, it's good to turn them on as well, particularly for languages like Japanese and Chinese where you have a totally new writing system you have to absorb. For intermediate learners, I personally really enjoy anything that seems DIY oriented, like cooking shows or any kind of tutorial, because usually what they're saying correlates very closely with what you're seeing on screen, because there are steps they're showing you, right? Therefore, there is less room for misinterpretation of what's happening. And of course, for more advanced learners, the sky's really the limit. You can check out dramas, the news, reality TV, movies, whatever you're interested in. At that point, you're just trying to increase your comprehension in as many different contexts as possible. Now, the one other important element that needs to be considered here is, once again, from my good friend Matt versus Japan, and he actually is my friend now. I actually messaged him to let him know how much I appreciated his tips. We talked about it a few times. He's a really cool dude. Anyway, the other element you should really consider, regardless of level, is trying out spaced repetition. Spaced repetition is a method where you have a certain word with time intervals increasing each time that word is presented or said. If that seems confusing, it won't be in a minute. So let's say you're watching Peppa Pig and you're learning the word cat in Mandarin, Mao, Mao, and you put that into a spaced repetition flashcard program like Anki. Anki's the one I'm using. I'm pretty sure Matt's using that one too. It will show you that word, and if you tell Anki, you know what, yeah, I'm good, I think I know this word pretty well now, the software will show you the word maybe again in 3 or 4 days, right? But if you say, you know, I'm not really that clear, I don't think I remember this word so well, the software might give the word to you 5 minutes later. So based on how well you personally feel you know that word, Anki will decide when it will show that word to you again. So of course, the less familiar you are with the word, the more Anki will show it to you. Now you might say, but JJ, babies and toddlers don't learn that way. Babies and toddlers don't need spaced repetition and flashcards. Yes, I know, but the difference with babies and toddlers is they're constantly immersed in their native language from the time of birth onward. So they're constantly being bombarded with these words and grammar patterns. For adults who don't have the privilege of constantly being exposed to our target language, we have to improvise and optimize our ability to remember things. Because unless you have unlimited time to sit in front of your computer watching shows in your target language for literally years and years, flashcards help you in the intervals where you're not getting as much input as you would ideally like. So when you're watching some show and you inevitably come across a word or phrase you don't know, just put that bad boy into Anki and the program will be sure to throw it back to you in future study sessions so you do not forget it. And in this way, you're on your way to creating a solid vocabulary foundation. Guys, this has been changing my life, honestly. Increasing my input and starting to use Anki honestly has done wonders for me. I find myself repeating things in my everyday life that I didn't even realize I knew how to say. That actually never happened to me before. It never happened to me with traditional language study. It's like my brain's on steroids in terms of my ability to remember and recall new things. And honestly, even old things that I thought I totally forgot. I actually recently thought of a really pleasant way to describe the experience. You know when you were a kid and you could hear your parents listening to the news from the other room? Even if you only understood 50% of what they were saying, it was still a super soothing experience, right? It was soothing because you were familiar enough with the language they were speaking to glean some meaning from it. And also because you had a positive association with that language. Your parents and your friends and everyone you love speak it. Your favorite cartoon characters speak it. So it just feels fundamentally familiar and good to hear that language, your native language. So recently what I found is second languages are no different. The more you listen to your target language, the more you'll feel that same sort of familiar comfort over time. Honestly, even up until recently, I would feel slightly more ill at ease than I would like to when listening to Mandarin or speaking Mandarin, just because, I realize now I wasn't getting enough listening input. I hadn't been doing enough to make it second nature to me. But over the last month, I've been starting to really feel more of a positive association and feelings of familiarity when I hear Chinese. A, because I'm watching and listening to things I'm actually interested in, and B, because of increased input, because of so much increased input, I'm just more fluent overall. And on that note, I have a really fun announcement for you guys. I'm going to be working with Asia Society and Chinosity to bring you a fun little competition called Why Speak Chinese 2020. Winners get free round trips to China. Woo! All you have to do to enter is submit a 1-minute video on your experience learning Chinese, and of course, be sure to showcase a bit of your Chinese speaking ability. There are requirements for submissions, so be sure to click the link in my description in order to get all the details, as well as to submit your own video. Obviously, don't enter if Chinese is your first language, but all Chinese learners and heritage speakers are welcome. Submissions are accepted until January 15th, 2021. Woo! I'm also going to be a judge for Why Speak Chinese 2020, so I'm gonna personally be going through all your submissions and picking out some of my favorites. It should be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I've never been in the position to judge anything before, at least not officially.
So much power.
But seriously, I'm super excited to see what y'all got. Again, to see the details, click on the Chinosity link in the description. I really can't wait to see your submissions. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and thank you to Matt for literally changing the language learning game for me. I appreciate your advice so much. I'm leaving his channel information in the description, guys, so definitely follow him. He's a language angel of sorts. My microphone is falling. If you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment or message me on Instagram. Sometimes I am a little slow to respond, because I do get a lot of messages, but I will do my best. Okay, I love you guys so much. I'll see you in the near future with the next video upload. As always, be sure to like and subscribe. Okay, bye-bye.